Tamo junto, pessoal, tudo bem? Sejam bem-vindos a mais uma edição do Jovius News Podcast. Hoje a gente está aqui com um convidado, um nutricionista americano. Ele é PhD, cientista, e ele vem trabalhando muito com a ciência e formação de novos profissionais, com a NASM, que é a Academia Nacional de Medicina Esportiva. Eu vou deixar ele se apresentar um pouco melhor. So, hey sir, you want to introduce yourself a little bit better?
Yeah, I have no idea what you just said, so you could have made up a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I'm Brad. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Macros Inc. We do nutrition and fitness coaching. I sit on a few advisory boards, mainly the National Academy of Sports Medicine. I've spent several years of my career in academia as a scientist, did my doctorate and my fellowship, and then was a staff scientist at a research group at a hospital. And now write, publish, coach, kind of build businesses in the health sciences space and a little bit in the biotechnology space as well.
Yeah. I basically said this, but in a very more simplistic way. But yeah, first of all, I want to start by asking something. Recently, I was in São Paulo, which is a big city here in Brazil, and I was in a conference talking to some professors, and I remember one of the professor, he was talking specifically about obesity, and he was bringing a point for us that just like the same way we have, for example, people treating anxiety, people treating depression with pills and treating this as a chronic disease and treating like, okay, in order to control this, we're going to have to be taking pills every day or chronically. The same way we do this with this kind of disease, we are going to have in a short term or long term to have to treat obesity just like the same way. So instead of we trying to be so worried about exercising, nutrition, eating healthy, why don't we go all in these Mounjaro, Ozempic things, you know? And I kind of wondered, like, is it a good approach? Like, I wanted to see your opinion on that.
So I think what you've described is the two polar ends of how we address this issue, right? We have one end where it is entirely eat better, move more, use exercise, use nutrition. And the other side of the spectrum is treat this as a medical problem and use medication to manage all of it. And I don't think it's as simple as it's either or. I think the reality is both of them are important parts of the problem. And what we're going to see is the utilization of both of them will be an important part of how we address this very large global health issue in modern society. I mean, if we look at, the course of obesity across the world, and especially as we talk about developing countries like Brazil, like Mexico, like India, and the rapid rates of the rise in obesity over the last 20, 30 years they're starting to experience a lot of the issues that we began to experience about 30, 35 years ago. And so what we see is as society changes and as value structures change and as daily life changes, a lot of the just like forces about our life are kind of stacked against us that lead to us developing obesity. And so what the reality is, it's always going to be some combination of lifestyle change plus some people will benefit from medication use. Now, I think one of the issues is there's a narrative going on right now that these medications, as many people as can get them, should be on them, and that they are entirely safe. And I think the reality is we're probably trying to overprescribe them, and we're not appreciating what the longer-term potential of the side effects could be. And so I think the reality is it's a much more nuanced answer than it's either end of the extreme.
Yeah, because we see like a few years ago, I think Ozempic was all over Brazil. Mm-hmm. And then it came recently Mounjaro, and people are like, oh, this is Ozempic but better because we don't have side effects. And I wonder, like, are we thinking the right way? But I see it. So
yeah, I mean, anytime we have medications, there's always going to be side effects, right? There's
Yeah.
always going to be the subset of people who have some sort of side effect. There's always going to be the potential for misdosing. There's always going to be the potential for inappropriate off-label use. There's always going to be the potential for buying it from a compounding pharmacy and getting not the right medications. So there's always risks associated with them.
Right. Yeah. Do you have something, a number? I don't know if we have this, but would you have a number like, are there any percentage of the population that has obesity 100% from genetics? Do we have something like this?
We do. So that's a very specific case. So we can actually think about the genetics surrounding obesity from two perspectives. There's what we call monogenic obesity, which is one gene, one disease. And then there's polygenic, which is a bunch of different genes combined together to increase your risk of developing obesity. The reality is the monogenic diseases of obesity are things like leptin deficiency, Prader-Willi syndrome, etc. And those are conditions in which genetic defects directly result in obesity, and they have to be corrected through medical intervention. I don't know the exact prevalence off the top of my head, but it is a very small percentage of the population. Like it's less than 1% of people experience that, right?
Oh,
and so
less
we
than
can
1%.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other side of, and I'd have to go look at the data again, just 'cause it's been a while, but the genetic risk for like the average person explains a very small percentage of obesity. So polygenic obesity or common obesity, there may be certain aspects of your genetics that maybe increase your risk or your disposition to developing obesity, but it's not directly causal. And the fact that we would think it's not like the monogenic obesity where if you have this gene without medical intervention, you will develop it. That's not kind of how it works in the common obesity for most people.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking maybe it was like something around 3 or 5%, but it's good to know that it's even less.
Yeah.
Not good to know, but well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next topic, I would like to discuss about diabetes. So recently I was in the gym, and well, it's not very rare to see some people in the gym right now with that monitor. It's like a monitor for glucose or insulin.
Yeah, usually they're just glucose monitors. Yeah.
Glucose monitor. Yeah. So it's not very rare to see people using that. And recently I was in the gym and I was talking to a girl and I was like, oh, this is so nice. Like you've been working out even though you have diabetes, and this is really good for yourself. It's so good to know that people are having the knowledge to work out. And she was like, well, I know this is good to be working out, but the real reason I'm here is because they give me the monitor for free if I'm enrolled in a training program. So that's a good side that is really nice from the health system of Brazil to give this for free if you're enrolled in a training program. But on the other hand, I feel that people don't even realize how good exercise can be for people with diabetes. And I would like to know how good it is. Like, how can we say exercise is so beneficial for people with diabetes?
Yeah, so I think first we'll start just to make sure it's clear. There's type 1 and type 2 diabetes, and they're very different diseases, right? Type 1 is a disease of insulin insufficiency. That's a result of an autoimmune disorder. And type 2 diabetes is a disease of insulin resistance and then eventually insulin insufficiency. And so they're very different metabolic conditions. So most people, the vast majority of people who are diagnosed with a type of diabetes is type 2. When we talk about exercise and its benefits on type 2 diabetes, there's quite a few benefits. The first one is in a very acute sense, like in the short term, when you exercise, it improves your body's ability to regulate blood glucose. So when you engage in exercise, it actually will help lower your blood sugar acutely because your body's utilizing and actually pulling in more glucose from circulation. So it kind of lowers your blood sugar in the short term.
It would be it would do the same as insulin. It would replace it, kind of.
It wouldn't replace it. It's additive to it. So what it does is your cells in your body, like your muscle cells, can take up blood sugar either through insulin or through what we call non-insulin dependent glucose uptake. So you actually can take up glucose from your cells or into your cells without insulin, and exercise is really the primary way to do that. So you actually get an additive benefit. So you get an increase in, or you get a decrease in blood glucose from exercise. You also get a short-term increase in insulin sensitivity. So the insulin in your body is also working more efficiently in that kind of during and post-workout window. And then the last piece of it is when exercise is used to help accelerate weight loss, the weight loss itself is really beneficial for diabetes. In fact, most data suggests that if you lose about 10% of your total body weight, you have a very high likelihood of putting type 2 diabetes into remission. So exercise leading to weight loss, when it's combined with proper like nutrition, diet, calorie restriction, is one of the most efficient ways to treat it.
Right. Oh, so even more than what people say that it helps the insulin to cap the blood glucose, we have to think in long term. So in this sense of reducing body fat and consequently getting diabetes away.
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay. Oh, this is nice. I've never seen that perspective, even though it seems logical, but
yeah,
nice to know. Yeah. Okay. Also, in this sense of metabolism, so maybe this is very personal question, but it's something that I really struggle with. Since I started to study nutrition, you come across that formulas, Harry Benedict, all these BMR formulas, and I remember I was doing all the calculations because I come from engineering, so I love everything that it relates to math. So I was doing all the calculations, and at some point I got, I have to eat 3,000 something calories, but because I was always very skinny since I was a kid, everyone always told me that I had fast metabolism. And here's my main personal question, does it really exist, this fast? Are there really people with fast metabolism and slow metabolism? Because in my mathematical way to think is if I do the Harris Benedict, I don't have to worry about anything else. But does it really exist? Are people spending more calories just because they do?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So I'll kind of answer this in a few pieces. Maybe this will satisfy your engineering brain. So any of the calorie calculator, energy expenditure estimator that you're talking about, the Harris Benedict, the Catch McCardle, all of those things. Or, sorry, not the Catch McCardle. Like the Mifflin St. George, etc. They all really have two components. They predict your basal metabolic rate, which is the energy you expend by just living. So if you were to just lay in a bed all day and do nothing. And then they have something that accounts for physical activity, right? So they take your body and then how much does it cost to actually move your body?
Yeah.
And so the first piece, the basal metabolic rate, if you were to take 1,000 people that are the same height, the same weight, there's going to be a distribution of what their BMRs are, right? Let's say the mean is 1,700. Well, then there's going to be some people who are a little bit more, a little bit less, and kind of a normal distribution, right? A Gaussian distribution. Yeah, normal distribution.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that distribution is actually it's a fairly narrow window. And so most people, 90+% of people, will be within, about 10% of that mean, right? So 95% of people will be either 1,500 or 1,900 for their basal metabolic rate, right? And then it really comes down to how much you physically move throughout the day and how much you exercise and just your your non-exercise activity. And so that's what those equations estimate. And the biggest thing that people get wrong is most people overestimate their physical activity. And so what we actually see in the research literature is if you take, let's say you were to take those 1,000 people and you were to predict who is going to gain weight over a certain period of time, it turns out that whether you have a slightly slower BMR than what is predicted or a faster BMR than is predicted, you're no more likely to gain weight if you have a slightly lower BMR than predicted than higher, right? Mm-hmm. So it turns out that people don't really have fast or slow metabolisms. Like from a objective sense, that just doesn't bear out in the real world. And so what ends up actually being predictive is your physical activity levels and your food intake.
So probably I've been skinny for my whole childhood because I was spending a lot of energy.
Yes.
And not because I was selected with fast metabolism. Okay.
Yeah.
Finally, I got an answer for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Another one is super. I think you might have this asked at least 1 million times, but I'm a human being, so about alcohol. Well, first of all, another thing that I never understood completely is I always hear that alcohol is all about empty calories. But again, thinking in the engineering mind, I know that calories is a type of energy, is a measurement of energy. So I'm like, is it possible to get energy from alcohol, or is it 100% empty, so it's going to enter your body and go out?
So the reason we often say alcohol is empty calories is that you get energy. So it's about 7 calories per gram of alcohol, but you don't get any nutrients. Right, so there's no vitamins, there's no minerals, it's literally just energy. It's just calories, right, for all intents and purposes.
But we're not gonna storage this in glycogen or anything.
No. So we can't. So our body doesn't have the ability to store alcohol. So what happens is, let's say you consume 30 grams of alcohol. Right. Your body is going to displace the oxidation of carbohydrates and fats to oxidize the alcohol. So if you consume 30 grams of alcohol, your body's going to slow down the oxidation of carbohydrates and fats to oxidize the alcohol first because we can't store
prioritizing.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, it's not like your body doesn't completely shut off carbohydrate and fat metabolism. It just reduces it to utilize the metabolic pathways to break down the alcohol. Right.
So, but, I understand, but still so the body's going to prioritize alcohol metabolism. So, I drank 2 or 3 beers and now my body is not working on the protein, fats, carbohydrates. It's going all in on, not all in, I understood it's going to prioritize alcohol, but is it going to give me energy like instantly? It's super hard on my mind to understand where is this energy.
Yeah, so when the way metabolism works is our body will utilize the energy in the bonds between the molecules of our food because there's stored energy in there. And so when it breaks those, it releases energy.
Okay.
The same thing happens when you break down alcohol. It creates ATP. Now, when you exercise, your muscles create ATP, the energy, from the energy in the carbohydrates that are stored in your muscles, the fats that's stored in your muscles, and the carbohydrates and the fats that are circulating in your blood. Realistically, the only tissues that really can break down alcohol and turn it into energy and its byproducts is your liver. So your liver will create the ATP, but your muscles won't be using the alcohol for those things. And so realistically, like if you are exercising and you're like, hey, I'm going to take a shot of vodka and it's going to give me energy to exercise, you're putting energy into your liver, but you're not really fueling your muscle tissue.
Okay, I was about to ask this exactly the
Yeah.
same question. Okay,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so can I use it as a pre-workout? But okay, my
I,
liver
I,
will
I
be
don't
using.
recommend. Yeah.
Okay, okay, awesome. And okay, and another question about alcohol, just because, well, we all wanted to know this. Do we have right now in the literature something about a health dose for alcohol? Like, yeah, can a safe dose for alcohol and they're not gonna be impacting that much the muscle protein synthesis?
Um. So the reality is, any amount of alcohol is detrimental to overall health. Any
Right.
amount, right? The risk is much higher if you have more than one drink a day.
Okay.
So the lowest risk in terms of like optimizing muscle protein synthesis, reducing cardiovascular risk, reducing risk of cancer, reducing risk of like, liver disease. The lowest risk category is 0.
Okay.
And
So,
then from 0 to 1, it's like 1 drink a day, the risk increase is fairly small, but it's not 0. And then as you get more than 1 drink a day, the risk starts to go up fairly linearly. So
okay. I'm
2
sorry.
drinks a day is almost double the risk of 1. 3 drinks a day is almost triple the risk of 1. Like, that's kind of a rough way to think about it.
Okay. But would we have something? Imagine instead of drinking 1 per day, we drink 5 in a weekend. Would it be better to try uh, to get more muscle protein synthesis?
I don't know if we have a lot of good data on that, just because
Okay.
it's really hard to get ethical approval to have people binge drink and exercise. So I don't know if we have any good data on that, but I would imagine it's probably, in terms of like muscle protein synthesis specifically, you're probably going to have better outcomes drinking 1 day a week and having more drinks than drinking 1 drink a day every day. Now, there's
Yeah.
a lot of nuance in there, and like if you're so hungover for 3 days you can't train, like that's a little bit different story. But we don't have really meaningful data on that question. But I would imagine it's probably doing more on 1 day is going to have better outcomes than having 1 or 2 every day.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. I was thinking about the same because we see a lot of people. I see a lot of people. They are super jacked, and they're like, no, in the weekend I drink 3 or 4 drinks, and it's okay because I just replace the calories. So instead of I eat that 3 breads, I replace it for 3 or 4 shots. But well, when it comes to muscle protein synthesis, I was thinking about it, and yeah, it makes sense that we don't have enough data because it doesn't seem really ethical to do it.
Yeah, I think it's also hard because there's probably 2 confounders at play. One, that type of behavior is generally occurring amongst young men in their 20s, who are kind of in like the peak muscle building physique phase of their life. And 2, a lot of times that behavior is also accompanied with like anabolic steroid use. So you can cover up a lot of negative behaviors with large amounts of anabolic steroids.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the questions that I separated was that, but
Okay.
yesterday I asked people in my Instagram to see if they want to ask you something, and we got a pretty good amount. I mean, 10 or 11 questions, which I try to break down into small topics so we can do like a Q&A quick session.
Okay.
Okay, so first, a topic that people asked a lot, and yeah, like this is my audience, so people from all the careers, not people
Okay.
exactly from nutrition. So mainly the first topic people asked about was creatine. So first question, can I drink it with some beverage just like Coke?
Yep, you
I
can.
get-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Creatine, pre-workout or post-workout? People were asking about it. Is that
It doesn't really matter. You can take it pre or post. It may be slightly more effective post-workout because you may end up getting more of it into your muscle tissue, but in reality, it doesn't really matter.
Okay. Another question about creatine is it beneficial for elderly people, just like everyone is saying?
The data that's coming out is seeming to suggest that there is cognitive benefits for older people. It's still fairly new, and the dosing and the timing and the age is still kind of not super clear, but definitely there appears to be benefit.
Awesome. Next topic is about nutrition in general. So one of my followers, he asked about nutrition for babies from 1 to 5 years. Is it something we can cover up on this?
I would say that's probably outside of my scope of practice because I don't focus on infant nutrition. So I would refer that to a pediatrician for sure.
Okay. Next one, someone asked, lactose-free foods are really beneficial for people that are lactose intolerant. So I don't know if that's some conspiracy over there.
No, I mean, so most lactose-free products are simply the original product has just been treated with the enzyme that our body usually makes. So our body makes an enzyme called lactase that breaks down lactose, which is the sugar found in dairy products like milk. So a lot of times companies just take the milk and treat it with the same enzyme that our body makes. So it's already pre-broken down.
Right. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And last one, in my opinion, this was the best question because I would want to know this as well so much, is about timing of eating. Is it possible to get a good protein intake with only 1 meal per day? And taking note that I'm going to be having 1 gram per pound of protein. Fasting all day and just 1 meal.
I think from a pure physiology standpoint, it's probably possible that you can get enough protein in because a paper was just published a couple of years ago that basically showed up to 100 grams in one serving. We still don't kind of maximize our absorption and or the anabolic signaling from it. So the threshold's probably higher than 100 grams a day. But I think the reality is it's probably pretty hard to do that every day. I don't know if I could eat 175 grams of protein in a single meal every day for the rest of my life. That would be a lot of steak or chicken or fish or protein shake to drink at once. I probably wouldn't feel that great doing it. Yeah, so it's probably theoretically possible, just practically would not be that fun to do.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But because some people were asking also about timing because, I work, I can only have a meal when I come from work. So I have a 8 or 10 hours gap. So I try to put this in the same topic, but I think it's the same mentality. It's not going to affect, but if you're going to do so little frequency, my overtime, it will not be really easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it, sir.
All right, awesome.
I didn't want to take a lot of your time. I'm starting right now, so it's just 30 or 40 minutes here. But
Perfect.
I would like to wrap up with 2 things.
Okay.
So first, I would like for you to say anything, how to find you, if you want to talk about anything that you're producing right now, any course, anything you want to say to my audience.
Yeah. If you guys are interested to learn more, you can go to macrosinc.net. That's where we offer our coaching services. We have a bunch of free education on there, a bunch of free resources. We have a nutrition tracking app that we built. It's basically, we took all the features that places like MyFitnessPal charge you for, and we've made them completely free. So barcode scanner, custom food entries, custom macros, net fiber, all of those things. It's completely free. All we ask for is your email address so we can send you information as new stuff comes out. So that's completely free. It's called MacroSync. You can find it on the App Store.
Why I don't have it? I was using.
I don't know. You got to get it. Yeah.
I'm gonna get it.
So yeah, that's it. And then we'll have some additional kind of education material coming out later this year. But yeah, that's where you can find us.
Okay, awesome. So the last thing I would like to know is, to finally wrap it up, I end this with a question for myself. That is, I want not only to become a good coach, but also to become a good person. So I would like to know if you have any type of advice for me personally, something about the job, the career, or your personal life, or personal insight, something you could, I don't know, tell someone that is trying to pursue the path that you've been.
Try to keep your perspective on doing this for as long as you can. There's a lot of opportunities in this profession and in this business to take shortcuts. Don't take the shortcuts. Do things the right way. Do right by your clients. Don't sell things you don't believe in. Be focused on the long term, and you'll be fine.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, sir. It's a huge pleasure for me.
You're welcome. I appreciate the reach out and for you following up with me, and glad we were able to do this, and happy to come on again if you ever need someone.
Thank you.
Então é isso aí, galera. Obrigado aí todo mundo que acompanhou. Cara, que papo maneiro. Esse cara é um cara que eu respeito muito. Ele tem um podcast de nutrição, né? E o conselho que ele me deu aqui no final foi uma coisa que com certeza vai ficar para a vida e é algo que eu realmente tava esperando ouvir, né? Que ele falou, cara, foca no longo prazo, não tenta tomar nenhum atalho. Essa é uma carreira que poucas pessoas estão buscando e é muito bom ver pessoas assim buscando igual você. Então, evita qualquer tipo de atalho, evita qualquer tipo de caminho fácil, faz o que é certo, não engana ninguém, que isso vai te levar longe. Então, acho que é com isso que a gente encerra. Muito obrigado a todo mundo que assistiu. E vejo você no próximo vídeo aí, no próximo entrevista. Tamo junto. Ai, Calica.